Good evening, whakaalawhalahiatu, and welcome to tonight's bulletin of BCN News. Leading the news tonight, Premier Dalton Tagelangi warns against complacent attitudes, reminding the public that all quarantine locations pose a risk and to remain vigilant by keeping outside the fence as instructed by authorities. The Premier's comments come after revelation by a senior public health official on radio last week that they are aware of some people who've breached home quarantine facilities. Here's more. Griselda Mokoia, head of public health, told our weekly News of the Week program last Friday that health officials are aware that some people have actually walked into the fenced-off home quarantine facilities. She says that they suspect some of our people are showing a more relaxed approach now because they are fully vaccinated. In response to queries from BCN News about these breaches, Premier Dalton Tagelangi says that this is now the time for the government to review, amend and strengthen processes and procedures as they work towards the two-way quarantine-free travel. Here's a statement from the Premier's office received yesterday.
As we progress towards two-way quarantine-free travel, this is a first for us to review, amend, and strengthen our processes and procedures in order to make this successful. Negotiations have commenced with both government officials, and we don't want to jeopardize this. We are relying on the honesty and integrity of our people to comply with HQ conditions and not to break the rules. Home quarantine has been implemented for almost a year now. Since the inception of home quarantine, there have been some issues that were reported. These issues at the time have been addressed and resolved. Home quarantine has been a success, which has allowed us to increase the number of passengers from 26 to 50.
Meanwhile, the Chief of Police, Tim Wilson, has responded to the revelations by senior health officials, saying that the police have received some reports of home quarantine breaches. In each of those cases, an investigation was completed and no violations were confirmed. He says that some of those reports were due to a misunderstanding of home quarantine protocols by the reporting party. Witnesses have told BCN News that they've driven past some of these home quarantine properties where the fencing doesn't cover the property completely, and some of them have seen visitors speaking to those within the fencing less than 2 meters apart. Unlike the government's managed isolation quarantine facility located at home office, where security is present and visitors are monitored, the home quarantine facilities do not have the same security presence. Chief of Police Tim Wilson also reminds the public that any concerns about those home quarantine violations should be reported first to the police so that the investigations can be conducted and appropriate actions taken. Chief Wilson says the COVID committee are working very hard to safeguard Niue, and they need the public's assistance by following protocols and reporting breaches to the proper authorities so action can be taken. It is unclear if the number of home quarantine applications approved by Cabinet will be capped at a certain number, given the admission by the police earlier this year that their limited resources are stretched to manage the many home quarantine facilities. And BCN sources within government say that the government is looking at opening the borders for two-way quarantine-free travel in October, with no set dates known. The big question is, are we ready for the two-way quarantine-free travel? Are we ready for quarantine-free travel in October? Are people using the contact tracing app RockSafe? We went to find out at Swanson Supermarket today, and of the 5 customers we saw in the 10 minutes we were there, only 1 customer used the RockSafe app. This was also confirmed when speaking to shop owners who told us that most people are not using the RockSafe app by placing their QR code card in front of the terminal located at the checkout counters. Some people are saying that they were not told when to use these when they were issued the cards by the health department during the vaccination rollout last month. Some shop owners say that the terminals have to be charged regularly as well. If the government is thinking of opening borders in October, it seems there's quite a lot of work to do to inform the locals of what they need to do, starting by scanning your QR code every time you visit the stores, the petrol station, the bank and some government departments. BCN News asked the advice of Dr. Colin Tukuitonga, who said that the community should insist that all visitors to Niue must be fully vaccinated and have negative tests completed. He says that Niue should only allow people from New Zealand to travel to Niue. The locals, he says, should ensure that they are vaccinated and minimize interactions with visitors. Dr. Colin Tukuitonga, who is one of New Zealand's top public health officials, advises to listen to the advice of public health officials. So please, folks, do use your QR codes at any store or the bank or the petrol station or even government departments if you see the RockSafe app. In our other stories, the Parliamentary Select Committee of 6 members appointed last month to look into the operations of Telecom Niue and the Broadcasting Corporation BCN. They will commence their investigation next week. Here's Asana Sioniholo with more.
BCN News obtained a copy of the committee's term of reference, which states that the role of the committee is to carry out an investigation into all aspects of the operations of the organization and to assess whether the stated objectives have been achieved in the delivery of the services to the community. The terms of reference states that the initial stages of the proceedings, the committee will need to be briefed on the developments that has led BCN from a public service broadcaster to its current status. Of equal importance will the path that the board and management plans to take the organization in the foreseeable future. The process started on Friday last week when the committee sent public notice inviting public submissions from the organizations or interview rules on the island. It was not made clear in the terms of reference of the committee if they will be calling on the minister of these two entities, Premier on-board Dalton Tangalangi, to appear before the hearings. Meanwhile, last week, the chairperson of Telecom Niue Limited Board, Avi Rubin, says that he has not heard anything from the Whanokepule about this and that he has not been informed about any hearing or investigations into Telecom Niue Limited.
And the government's largest state-owned enterprise, Telecom Niue, has donated more than $20,000 worth of free 4G data in the past 7 months. And the luckiest people on the island are the darts players, with nearly $5,000 worth of free data. In the last 7 months, from January to end of July this year, Telecom Niue has donated 1,677 gigs in free data. Using the current rates of $12 per gig, that's around $20,214 worth of free data. Niue darts clubs around the island receive the most free data, with 403 gigs valued at $4,836. The Niue Touch Association received for the value of $4,464 worth of free data. The village of Avasale received 249 free gigs, valued at $2,988. Tamamana received 156 gigs for free, valued at $1,872, followed by Alofi with 145 gigs for free, valued at $1,740. Other villages, including Hakupu, Tamokotonga, Lakepa and Mutalau, also received free data, but less than 100 gigs each. Niue High School received 60 gigs, valued at $720. Since this news broke yesterday, local customers have taken to social media saying that some of this free data should be rewarded to loyal customers, especially those who don't have reliable 4G services. It's understood that the data donations is a major part of Telecom Niue's marketing strategy. Meanwhile, Telecom Niue is working on releasing their new rates this month, according to the chairperson of the board, Avi Rubin. Darren Tohovaka, the Chief Electoral Officer, last week announced the election date for the Niue Village Council elections to be held on Friday, the 27th of August. Here's Sana Sioniholo with more.
Each of the 14 village councils are required to have a minimum of 3 and maximum of 5 members. At the moment, most of the village councils have either 4 or 5 members. the village of Alofi North, Tamakautonga and Liku have only 3 elected village council members. The Chief Electoral Officer located at the Justice Department is now accepting candidate nominations until 12 o'clock midday on Wednesday next week, the 11th of August 2021.
That's our news for this evening. Join us again on Tuesday next week for our bulletin in Wangahau-Niue. Until then, do visit the La Kepa village for their annual show day on Saturday. You have a wonderful weekend. Good night. Munu Nepo.